What's up, guys? It is Carly here, bringing you your Tuesday review on Body Bags, and today I'm going to be talking about a remake, and that is The Hills Have Eyes from the year 2006. Yes, have it in this double pack here with part 2, which I haven't seen part 2 in a long time, and I barely even remember it, but anyways, so Hills Have Eyes, 2006. The plot here is you have this family that consists of a husband, wife, their 3 children, their one daughter's husband, and their newborn baby. They are traveling. I think they're trying to get to Los Angeles, and they end up broken down in the middle of the desert, and they are stranded. And while they are stranded, there is a group of mutants who are sort of just these people with major deformities, and they're cannibals, and they are stalking them out from the hills around them, and then they just come down and start terrorizing the family. So that is the story if you do not know it already. I will start off by saying that while talking about this movie, I'm probably going to give some stuff away, so if you've actually never seen either the remake or the original, I would not watch this review because it's kind of hard for me to really talk about it and express things without giving some things away. So, this movie I find to be a very, very effective remake. When it comes to remakes, I feel like a lot of them are kind of pointless and are either on the same level as the original movie or worse. But with this one, I feel like it actually improves upon what the original failed to do. And I actually just watched the original film recently as well on Shudder, just for the heck of it. So it's kind of easy for me to kind of compare. In this film, I really, really like the characters, just the whole family in general. You have Ted Levine playing the father, which I've always found to be kind of weird and almost in a way not very fitting, because he plays, of course, a bad guy in like The Silence of the Lambs and Joyride. So it's kind of weird seeing him just play this sort of hard-ass dad in this movie, but you kind of know it's him just by his voice alone. So I always found that to be a little bit weird, but besides that, the rest of the family I find to be very likable, and you really kind of feel for them when stuff starts to go down. Especially, they just look like this really innocent group, and the kids all look pretty young. I mean, they're older, they're like in their 20s or something. The boy's probably around 15, the one girl's obviously in her early 20s, and then the other one, I suppose, is probably between 18 and 20, and they all just have this really young, innocent look to them, and you just really feel bad for the family in general when things start to go wrong. I also like with this movie, it kind of changes up how the plot goes. I feel like towards the beginning of the film, it's very similar to how the original is, just some of the scenes are very similar with the way they're shot and just what goes down in them. But then after they get attacked by the mutants, or whatever you want to call them, they kind of take a turn where they have the husband of the oldest daughter. It kind of becomes his story and his fight to get his baby daughter back, who they have taken. And I really like that they go with that, because this dude is kind of portrayed as a bit of a pussy, if you will, towards the beginning of the film. He's just like a typical phone salesman who's clearly never really done anything heroic in his life, and then you kind of follow him throughout the majority of the rest of the film and see him sort of build as a character and become this really strong person who has to kind of just fight in order to get his daughter back, and also exact kind of revenge on these people for what they've done to this family. So I really, really like that about it, because in the original film, you kind of get that plot, but you also are more focused on the mutant family a little bit, and I just don't really think it's all that great. Like, I'd rather focus on the family who's been attacked than the actual bad guys, just in this movie alone. So I really like where they went with that. Some of the negatives I have is just, in general, the effects, I guess, the makeup effects on the people who attack them. Of course, they're supposed to be these deformed people, and I don't think they look bad or anything like that, but I actually kind of like how the original film just kind of makes them look dirty. And then, of course, you got, I forget what his name is, but that one dude who actually has physical deformities in real life. He's just kind of playing himself in that film, and I really like the simplicity in that film, where in this one it's kind of trying a little harder to make these people look really gross and grimy and disgusting, which isn't necessarily a major negative. I just feel like they didn't really have to try too hard. It's kind of fine to just make them look a little bit dirty, and they don't necessarily have to be overly deformed, and I kind of feel like that would make it a little scarier even, because it makes them seem more humanized, but that's not a major problem or anything like that. Other than that, like, the fire that kind of goes on in this movie obviously looks very fake, and I feel like around this time period, a lot of fires and films kind of had that same fake look to them. I always think about the Hitcher remake towards the end. That's kind of what this reminds me of, and I believe this movie came out a year before that, but once again, not a major deal. It's just sort of how effects have taken their turn over the years. Scenery and the way this movie's shot is really, really good. Just the desert setting, I've always found that to be very, very terrifying, because it's a very beautiful setting, but if you get broken down, you're basically screwed because you're in the middle of the freaking desert. So I've always just found the setting to this movie to be very unsettling as well, because even if they weren't being attacked, they're kind of screwed if they can't find anyone and they have no cell phone service. So I really like that as well. Overall, I just think this is an excellent remake that does everything right, and I really have little problems with it. I definitely like it a lot more than the original film. Of course, the original film has its place, but yeah, I think this one just takes what that one had and just makes it much, much better, and kind of forms a better story. So, Hills Have Eyes remake, I give this an 8.5 out of 10. So yeah, thank you guys once again for joining me for this Tuesday review, and as always, I'll see you next week.